Hello and welcome to View at You, where I try and break down data analytic practices into easy to understand and digestible bits to hopefully make them a little bit simpler. You may have recently installed the Anaconda package for machine learning or data analytics, but you don't really know where to start. You may have seen something about Anaconda environments, but don't really understand them. In this video, I'm going to try and do a simple, straightforward look at managing the environments and how to use them. I will try to answer the following in this video. Why do you use the environments? Or how to create the virtual content environment? Or how to access that environment? Install packages in the environment? Or how to replicate that environment? So with that, and what's the benefit of virtual environments? Assuming that you're working on a car and you know you need a 10mm wrench, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a pair of pliers for the job, would you just take those tools or cart around the whole toolbox for the job? Virtual environments are the tools you need for the job without all the extra weight. With that, let's open up the Anaconda prompt and get started. Well, that'll work in my advantage in the future. So let's just start by typing conda info --envs, and that'll show you a list of the environments that you currently have. You probably see the base there, and I highly recommend trying not to install stuff in the base, as you can corrupt other packages with packages that are older, and it will backtrack your installed packages to a previous version, and that can cause some real issues down the line. So I recommend right off the bat, go ahead and start by installing a virtual environment, and we can clone the base for easy to use access to Python and installing new packages. So to create your first environment, do conda create --name, and then what you want to name it. I'm going to go ahead and name this one Scraper, and that way I can build a web scraping app with this later. And then --clone and base, and then you just hit enter, and it will go through and it will see the packages that are installed, build a list, and create that new environment. And this will take a little bit of time. We'll see how long it takes to get going, and I may pause it and wait for it to finish doing the install. And we're back. So now that I've done that, if I do that conda info environment command again, you'll see now that I've got a scraper environment, but I'm not in it. If you look there, it says base. So to activate the new environment so we can install packages, do conda activate, and it tells you right above how to do it, but conda activate scraper. Now we can say conda list, and it'll tell us all the packages that we have installed in that, which, you know, right now it doesn't really matter, but down the road when you've installed other other packages, you may want to know what you've got in a particular environment, and that's one way to go about it. So now if we want to, let's say, install Beautiful Soup so we can do a web scrape, we do conda install -C in this case because it's going to a different library, the Anaconda library, and beautiful soup. And again, this will probably take a while. This is kind of a slow machine, and it's also Windows. If you do this in Linux, it's much faster. I'm not sure about Mac OS. But then it'll prompt me, make sure that I want to do these upgrades or whatnot. I'm going to just tell it yes, and it'll go about installing it. This will take a couple minutes or less. Now, the one thing that you may or may not know is in Jupyter Notebooks, we launch that. And I bring it over here. And let's just do a new Python 3. So now, if I go down to change kernel, I've got Python 3 and a defunct environment that I no longer have. How do I get to use that scraper? Well, you do have to go through a little bit of a process here, and that is if I get this back up. Okay, so you have to install something called the IPY kernel, which is IPython kernel, so you can get those kernels installed into the Jupyter Notebook so it can see your different environments. And you have to do it per environment. So first we need to do conda install -C again, Anaconda, and IPY kernel. Hit enter. So now it's going to go through, it's going to verify that it needs to install it, what it needs to install to get IPY kernel installed. And I'm going to tell it yes, and let it do the installation. Okay. Then, at this point, we've got the IPY kernel installed. However, we need to execute our command to input that new kernel into Jupyter Notebook so it can see it. So, if I go here and I type Python -m IPY kernel install for this user, and then name and what the environment name is, and then I also need to give it a display command, and I recommend giving it the same name. Otherwise, down the road, when you've got 15 different environments, you may not remember which one has the application or the whatnot that you want to use. So execute that command. Tells you they installed it. So now, if we come back over here, and it's not going to show up yet. I have to relaunch the Jupyter Notebook. So let's go ahead and close out of this. And I'm going to stop the server by hitting Control-C twice. And then I'm going to run the Jupyter Notebook again. Now if I come over here and I say new, I can tell it scraper right off the bat. It'll launch it. I can do import